I never thought I'd reach a point where I'd feel my pulse race just from pulling into my own driveway. But that's exactly what my life had become. Every evening after work, there it was, Karen's silver SUV parked diagonally across the entrance to my property like it owned the place. My name's Daniel Harper, and I'd moved into Maple Creek Estates to escape city chaos. I wanted peace, a little patch of quiet suburbia to breathe. Instead, I got the HOA's self-appointed Queen of Karen. The first time it happened, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe she had visitors, maybe they'd parked in the wrong spot. So I knocked on her door, polite smile on my face. She answered wearing a bright pink tracksuit, her hair as sharp as her tone. "Oh, that's your driveway," she said, feigning innocence. "Well, there's not much space on the street. You don't mind for a few minutes, do you?" A few minutes turned into an hour, then two. Eventually, I gave up waiting and parked halfway down the block, trudging home with grocery bags cutting into my fingers. It became a routine, her car blocking my drive every few days. I left notes, called the HOA, even tried talking to her again. Every attempt ended with a smug smirk or some passive-aggressive comment about new neighbors needing to learn the rules. But the rulers ironically said nothing about parking in front of driveways. Karen knew the loopholes and loved exploiting them. The final straw came on a rainy Thursday night. I'd worked late at the hospital, exhausted and drenched, only to find her SUV sitting there again, lights off. No sign of her. I called her number, no answer. I knocked on her door and no response. My frustration boiled over. I stood there, soaked and furious, feeling powerless in front of my own home. That night, something inside me snapped, but not in anger, in resolve. The next morning, I went to the city office. I learned that Maple Creek's HOA didn't actually own the street. It was public property, meaning enforcement was the city's job, not Karen's. And if her car was blocking access to my driveway, it could be towed legally. So I waited. Saturday morning, I woke up early. Sure enough, Karen's SUV was parked right across my entrance again. She was out gardening, pretending not to notice me. I walked up calmly and said, "Karen, could you please move your car? I have to leave soon." She didn't even look up. "It's the weekend, Daniel. You can wait." "I'm busy." I smiled. "All right, you're sure you don't want to move it?" "Positive," she said, waving me off. I dialed the number I'd been saving, a city parking enforcement. Within 30 minutes, a tow truck rolled into the cul-de-sac, its lights flashing like a divine intervention. Karen's face drained of color as the driver stepped out and hooked her SUV. "What do you think you're doing?" she shrieked. "That's private property." The driver shook his head. "Ma'am, this is a public road, and you're blocking a resident's driveway. You'll need to pay the impound fee to get your vehicle back." The look she gave me could have melted steel. But I just stood there, calm, finally in control. "You were warned, Karen," I said softly. More than once, the tow truck pulled away with her SUV, and for the first time in months, my driveway was clear. You'd think that would be the end of Ida, but Karen wasn't done. 2 days later, I found a letter taped to my door. A formal complaint to the HOA accusing me of harassment and creating neighborhood hostility. I attended the meeting they called, "Ready for War." She came dressed like she was attending a court hearing, armed with binders and photos. But the room wasn't on her side this time. I calmly laid out every incident: the blocked driveways, the ignored requests, the city's report confirming her violations. When I finished, the room was silent until the HOA president, Mr. Lewis, said, "Karen, this is unacceptable. You've caused enough trouble in this neighborhood. Consider this your final warning." Karen left the room storming, red-faced and trembling. After that, things changed. Not right away, but slowly. She stopped blocking my driveway. She stopped her crusade of control. Her pride was bruised, and for a while, she avoided me entirely. Months passed, and one morning, I saw her struggling to carry heavy boxes from her garage to the curb. She looked older, tired and defeated in a way that didn't feel satisfying to watch. I hesitated but walked over. "Need a hand?" She blinked, surprised. "You'd help me?" "I don't like grudges," I said. "They make life heavier than it needs to be." She was quiet for a long moment, then nodded. Together we moved the boxes, and for the first time, she actually said, "Thank you." From then on, something thawed between us. She stopped glaring from across the street. Sometimes she'd wave, Sometimes she'd leave baked goods on my porch around the holidays. It wasn't friendship, but it was peace. And I learned something from that whole ordeal. People like Karen don't just want control, they want to be seen, to be heard, to feel important in a world that's changing too fast around them. She'd lost her husband years ago, her kids barely visited, and all she had left was her whole power. I didn't excuse her behavior, but I understood it. The day she moved out downsizing to live closer to her daughter, she left me a note. "Daniel, I was wrong about you. Thank you for teaching me that kindness doesn't mean weakness. I hope your driveway stays clear and your heart even clearer." I smiled reading it, realizing that sometimes victory isn't about revenge, it's about reclaiming peace without losing your humanity. Her car may have disappeared for good, but so did the bitterness that had taken root in both our hearts. And in that quiet driveway, for the first time since moving in, I finally felt at home.